Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and share my presentation with you all. I have a PowerPoint presentation. Hopefully people will see it here in a minute. I've been having issues with my device this morning, unfortunately. So hopefully that will get resolved here in a second. Still not seeing my screen.
We could see your slides.
Yeah, okay, great. Hope we can be able to see the slides.
Yeah,
Can everyone see it? Yeah, fantastic. Thank you all so much. And so today we're going to be talking about integrating Google Arts and Cultures with using PlayPosit within information literacy courses. And so we have a short agenda here today. I'm going to give some information about myself quickly, but it's going to really transition to a class that I teach here at Texas Tech University, as well as looking at our learning objectives for this project that I'm going to be talking about using Google Arts and Sciences and building the PlayPosit technology, as well as I have sample videos throughout the presentation that I'd be happy to share really at the end if you're wanting to see more of that in action. So here is a Padlet. If you have any questions about the presentation and we don't get to it today, feel free to place that in there and I can get back with you pretty quickly. So my name is Amy Dye-Reeves and I work at Texas Tech University, and I am an active member of ACRL and ALA at Texas Tech. I am the Education and History Liaison. And with ACRL, I'm the chair of New Roles and Changing Landscapes, as well as the Standards Committee. And you can find out more information about me on LinkedIn or the program. So we're going to go ahead and jump
Amy, real
right
quick.
In. Yeah.
We're seeing the presentation, but also the next slide.
Oh, no.
Maybe just enter the full screen.
And if you wanted to add the Padlet link to the chat or to give it to one of us, we can grab it and put it in the chat.
That would be great. So
we have a little time since I did jump into 2 minutes early.
Okay, let's go ahead. Okay, let's go ahead and share that. I keep having to admit people to the room. Sorry. Okay, so I'm gonna
don't worry about admitting people. We've got it. Just, you know.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so do you see my screen now?
I see it, but I see the next slide on the
okay, let me stop sharing and try again.
Sure.
If that's gonna work, because I've had technology issues this morning, so I apologize.
No worries, we have all been there.
Okay, so does that work better?
It's is it showing for others? Is it also the column with the next slide?
Yeah, it's showing the presenter view.
Okay, so trying to think of how to do that. Let's go back again. Is that better or still the same? Okay, awesome. So does that still work for everybody? Hopefully.
Works for me. Looks great.
Oh, great. Thank you so much for telling me that. I appreciate it. So, so during the background for this particular course that I taught, it is a 1-credit class. And so I had some challenges with COVID-19. So my students, we had outbreaks at the beginning of the semester. So it was a face-to-face course. Unfortunately, it just kept happening within the last, probably the first 3 weeks of class. And I kept getting more students having these outbreaks. So just working with them, we decided to switch this from a face-to-face to quickly to online course. And they all agreed to that. I left the discussion up with them and to what we would want to do. So we did decide to move that to online instead of face-to-face. So with that being said, I wanted to look at more interactive means to really provide those collaborative opportunities with my students. Really for this assignment that I had was the objectives for that was that each student really would implement the use of a virtual field trip, which is Google Arts and Cultures and Sciences, really to fill in the gaps within their background knowledge and working within archives and museum studies. So each student, they would have to create a virtual field trip experience based on the lecture that we had about special collections and archives. And it was really to demonstrate their constructive knowledge about museum and archives that's really taught within the course. And so that assignment background, this is what it looked like, is that they were going to Google Arts and Cultures. They were clicking on the Museum Explorer. They picked out a museum or an archives that best fits the definition as discussed within the lecture. And so students were encouraged to pick a museum that was close to their major, or really a museum that interests them within that digital repository. And I'll show that in the presentation. And so you're going to see some of the questions that I asked. So I asked them to name the museum or archives within Google Arts and Cultures. Does the museum or archives fit the definition as we discussed in class? And so what was the highlights of your visit? And so when you looked at a specific item within the digital repository, what did you notice? Did you view the record? What specifics did the record hold? And how does this help future understand this definition of archives and museums and special collections within future research projects? And so a lot of my students, even when having this particular lecture and discussion, they actually had not been to a museum or archives. And so I wanted to provide a digital experience because we're going through COVID-19. And so a lot of that was very limited in terms of getting access to a special collections. So when visiting Google Arts and Cultures, so you can kind of see on our screen that it's artsandcultures.google.com if you want to look at that. And so what I had is towards the bottom of the screen, I had them go to a Museum Explorer and look at the more collection box below. And then I had them search for an archives and libraries with the little magnifying glass. And so when I had them do that, I had them search the term library. That's what I wanted them to search. And when they did that, they started to see more libraries. They started to see archives, materials. As you can kind of see right here, there's museum views, and go back one, there's some more just kind of screenshots there. And so the first thing for them was to create the video content. So this is what I wanted them to do. Create what was the name of the archives that you visited. Again, we had the same discussions we had just a few slides ago, but about the highlights, the definitions, anything you saw that was special. I do have a video of that in action that I'm happy to kind of show that and share that presentation towards the end. So you can see that example. It is me having the presentation and showing them step-by-step directions. So you can kind of see that there. It gives you more information. And the second thing that I want them to do was to upload it to PlayPosit. And we did spend some time with that in class and showing how to do that. And so for you all, if you've ever used PlayPosit before, the reason why I chose this is really because that we had the technology already purchased within our universities. It is within Blackboard. And so I was playing around with different options and I looked at PlayPosit and I was like, this is going to be perfect because it does provide interactive opportunities for your students. And then you're going to see why. So you can kind of see right here when you're clicking on that, you have different options. You can upload your video source to YouTube. You can do Zoom, and there's a lot of different ways, Mediasite, different ways that you would like to upload that. And so if you're using Mediasite, which is pretty much what we use a lot here at Texas Tech University. So using Mediasite, that's kind of how I was uploading the video and show them that way, but I also mirrored and showed them Zoom and YouTube as well. So there's different options, but in this example, it was Mediasite. So what I would do is just first have it connected to my Mediasite account on my university side. So I put my name on it and it quickly recognize my account, so I was able to upload my video from there. So you can kind of see that screenshot and that ID and what that looks like. If you're uploading things into PlayPosit from a different, repository, I'm going to show that here in a few slides. So if you're using Blackboard, it is also available in Canvas and I believe other ones as well. But in this example, it's using Blackboard because that's what we use here at Texas Tech University. And so when you upload that, you can kind of see your portal. This is my portal right here. And so I am using one of my developmental shells and I am building my content. So I'm going to click on building content. And once it does that, it's going to set my link. I'm going to have a link set. And once I click set link, I'm going ahead and setting that link and I'm adding a new bulb. And so when you're adding a new bulb, that is just adding your video, whether that is going to be from YouTube or that is going to be on Zoom, however you'd want to upload that. So once I have found mine, I just an example, uploaded it on YouTube to show you all. And so all I did was put the URL that I got from YouTube and placed it at the top, and it pulled my video. And the next thing I did was make sure I just had a title, whatever the title that you could have it for, the class with the person's name. Obviously, I will only see that unless they want to share that to the greater world. So we have those kind of agreements as well as, and just having what the title of their video is. They might have clicked on looking at a particular museum, so they would have that in their title of their presentation. And once you do that, you can view your video source and your captions. If you have captions, we talked about this probably in the last presentation about captions, that you can upload that RT file, all those files in there. So you can have that available, or there's available within YouTube captions. And the biggest part is trimming and cropping your video. Now, that's the one you're going to spend a lot of your time on. And the reason why is because you want to provide meaningful interactions with your student. And by meaningful interactions, I mean where that is going to be, and you'll see a screen in a minute, that is going to have different options for you. So what I did first is adding my interactions, kind of thought, okay, where do I want to start? What questions do I want to ask him? What interactions do I want to have? So this is kind of the video, what it looks like when you're trying to edit that video. The next thing is thinking about the templates. There is a template option within PlayPosit that you can have your learner notes, their experiences, you can have a discussion, there's a reflective pauses or finding notes. There's a lot of different ways that you can have that within PlayPosit, that you can also add your interactions, and the interactions are the fun part. A lot of the students really love having those interactions, and I also have lectures throughout the year in the course, so they're used to it. And so they know that it's a required interaction. You don't have to make it a required, but I do have that as part of my grade in the course, that they interact with videos. So as I go on, so you can see the interaction points right here, you can see the interaction options. So with the interaction options, there is multiple choice, there's free response, you can have a poll, you can have a discussion, there's a lot of vocabulary matching, there's so many different options that you have. So what I have when I'm really creating these videos is I'm mindful to say, with using a Google Arts and Cultures, for example, I would stop at say 005 and say, hey, have you ever used Google Arts and Cultures before, in a free response? And then in real time, you can see their students, their names, and their responses to that particular question. So it makes it more interactive. And so this is just another screenshot of what that looks like. You can place them in order. Again, you have that table of contents, vocabulary matching. There's a lot of different ways and things you can do with PlayPosit. So I really like the interactive material that they have with it. So seeing this in action is that this is the free response. Like I told you just a second ago, is with the free response, I just asked the students at 005 when I was cropping and trimming it, have you ever used Google Arts and Cultures? If so, what course? Just so we have an idea. And after they have that interaction and they answer it, you can see their name and their response. And so they're actually going along with the video as I'm narrating. And so as you do that, it kind of just trims it right here. And as I'm trimming it, I do want that interaction at 002. If I want for some class, if you're using vocabulary match, you can have a vocabulary match. It depends on your course and what you're trying to convey with your student learning objectives there. And as you go through that, you can kind of see in this review, after you place all your interactions, is you'll start tagging your video and also adding your learning objectives to that. So the students do know ahead of time what you're trying to really have during this particular session. So once you click on the review at the top, you can put your tags for the class, could be whatever class session it is. If you have a session that, this could be session 1, session 2, and it really depends on how you want to label that for the class. The playback options, I like for people to really pay attention to that. because you can allow them to skip the interactions. You can allow them to fast forward it, allow them to have a printable report. It really depends on your class or how you want to set that up. I do want them to not skip the interactions. And the reason for that is because if they go through all the interactive points and they do interact throughout the video, especially if this is an asynchronous class, that you want to know if they're learning at different points of the video. And then I do give them a grade for having those interactive points. And so that, to me, I know that check for understanding at different points to see where they're understanding, where they're going wrong, and really having that interactiveness to see at the end. I do, at the end of the week in an asynchronous course, have a live Zoom session. And so if they have questions, and they do get bonus points. So they're able to kind of review that with me as well if they, for some reason, are still missing some things from the video. And so this one is a privacy. If you want to make this visible to your entire school, or maybe you just want to make it for just your class, you're able to do that through a private bulb as well. So there is the privacy to that if you would need that for your course. And once you do that, you just want to hit preview. And then from there, there's going to be more examples. I have this in action to show you all again. So I think for me, some of the key takeaways when you're thinking about using PlayPosit is, and Google Arts and Cultures, does this really fit your virtual field trip experience, incorporating this within the asynchronous instruction, having that feedback in real time is what really is one of those things why I chose PlayPosit, because oftentimes I would have students, watching either my instructional videos or either in the class, and then they would skip different parts of that. And then you could tell that in the assessment that there are certain places where they're learning they didn't quite understand. So I wanted to have an interactive experience for them within PlayPosit, and then also to learn from each other as well with these videos. There's also an option in PlayPosit for peer review. So you can assign one of the videos that you have to another student, and they can peer review it, and they can answer questions, free
5 minutes
response.
left.
So that's really, really great to have with PlayPosit. But if you have any questions about this presentation, then I have a Padlet for that. And here is my contact information. So again, thank you all so much. And I apologize for the technology glitch today.
Oh, you did great, and what beautiful slides. They were worth waiting for. So yeah, go ahead and you can add things to the Padlet, which we got up and running in the chat. But also you can ask questions here. For example, we have a question from Esther. Did you say that PlayPosit is available via Canvas too?
Yes, it is available through Canvas as well. Yes.
And Lauren's wondering if anyone has experience with the free version.
I have not actually used the free version. I've just used the paid version that we have for our institution.
Maybe you mentioned this, but is it the subscription? Is it what's like the licensing agreement there? Is it, do you have any idea? Like, is it a yearly kind of situation?
I believe that, they've had this for multiple years from what I understand on the technology.
So tried and true.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I know I've talked with them in technology, and I asked them, I was like, I hope we don't get this taken away because I use it for everything. And they're like, no, this isn't going away. Oh my good.
Awesome. That's good.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Other questions? Let's wait a minute to see if people are typing. And chat moderators, did I miss any questions in the chat? I'm scrolling through.
Looks like you got them all, Stephanie.
Awesome. Thanks, Joy. Oh, we've got some people saying great, fantastic, which I agree.
Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Anything else you want to add, Amy? here at the
I do
end?
not. Besides, if you have any questions, just to contact me or you need help with setting up with any of this, feel free. And I'm happy to really answer any of those questions that you might would have, or just be a sounding board on different classes or instructional sessions as well. So thank you all so much. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today.
Thank you. I imagine you will have some folks reaching out to you. I'm like, oh, I gotta look into this. I gotta. What a great tool. Amber, is form for faculty available? Question for Amber from Esther. Oh, from the faculty from the previous ones. Okay. Yeah, go ahead and put that in the chat if that's the case. And a friendly reminder, once we're done for the day, here's the link to the eval form. We'd love your feedback. So start drafting that now. Just kidding. You don't have to start yet, but just a reminder. All right, wonderful. So